Welcome to the Graveyard Shift, everybody. A forgotten TV. That's right, we are Nostalgia TV, and we are coming at you with something from 1987. It is Friday the 13th month, and we are continuing on with the TV show. Season 1, we're going to cover the first half, and in a couple weeks, we'll come back with the other half of Season 1. So, first 13 episodes, everybody. It is Friday the 13th.
Job. I hate this goddamn job and I don't need it.
You two had better be calmed down or we're breaking out the ball gags.
You're listening to the fucking Sons and Shadows podcast on this network, so fucking subscribe or die. Fist bump.
Yep, Friday the 13th. All right, Kevin, you ever seen this one before?
I have ancient fond memories from like 30 years ago watching this show. Almost 40 years ago. God damn.
Yeah, 87.
But they're all nostalgia glasses. I didn't remember like very much specifically, little bits and pieces here and there. I remember loving the cast.
Yeah, the cast is pretty memorable, and so is like the opening sequence, which I only just showed you all just a little clip of that. It's got a fantastic opening theme, and it really kind of kicks off, hey, this is going to be pretty kind of cool. It's very mellow, and then it gets going, and then it shatters at the end with the thunder, and it totally pops, totally works very well. Thank you, Fred Mullen. And, you know, it's a fantastic score overall. I have the CD, I think, somewhere around here, or that might still be in storage. I'm going to have to take a look for that bad boy. But, yeah, I remember this show pretty fondly myself. I remember the cast and just a handful of episodes. So rewatching this was kind of like, oh, that's right. I forgot about this one.
Well, let's rewind for just a second. Before we get too ahead of ourselves. This is the third installment of the Insert Your Day Here Frights. For me, it was Friday night. I think you said for you it was Thursday night. A lot of people got this show on Saturday nights, but we've done with great fond memories. This is the third show. This most recently was Freddy's Nightmares, which we had a great time with. And then we've always been really nervous going forward because the first one we started with was War of the Worlds.
Yeah, no, we didn't do that one. Nope. And didn't happen.
I always thought my memories of that were sweet and pure, and I loved that show just like I loved that movie. And I'm thinking to myself, do I really love this show as much as I thought I did? Or is this?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Whew. And so, like, when we went into this, I was kind of like crossing my fingers and doing a little genuflect, like, God, I hope this works out.
So did I. Like, I haven't literally watched this show since I bought the DVDs, and I've only ever made it through the first season like once when I first got them. I mean, I got all the seasons. They're all here, and I'm pretty excited to watch the second season. The third season, I'm a little, I don't know, trepidatious about getting into that one because of the cast change at that point, but
we've got 2 more years to do that, so
yeah, we'll get to that eventually.
Maybe.
I mean, the whole idea is like just to have a fun Friday the 13th month. There's Friday the 13th happening this time, you know, and we haven't had one in a while this year so far, and the next one's what, December. I think you mentioned to me.
Yeah, so
I don't know, I don't think we're going to be doing that come December. However, we are intending to do more of this like next year. There's more movies in the franchise, and there's 2 more seasons of this show, and there's plenty more we can do within this world. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I was a little concerned about rose-colored glasses or rose-tinted glasses, however you want to phrase it. Like, man, I have such really good memories of this show. Like, it was literally one of my favorite horror shows on TV. And as far as horror goes, it's very light. It's not too horrific. It does have some cool death scenes. It does have a little blood from time to time, but overall, it's relatively tame. They do a good job with creating tension for our main characters. Now, how the story starts is this is basically an antique shop. And if you've seen like Warehouse 13, you've seen like any other show that's involved, like, hey, this is cursed or this is an alien artifact. And then it starts creating chaos and these different, episodes, things like that. There's plenty of shows that have done this kind of niche or like sort of like little plot, overall plot, like, hey, cursed items, yada yada. This is one of those that really worked very well back in the day, and a lot of those newer ones always kind of do little callbacks to Friday the 13th. Warehouse 13 was a very big one that really did call back to this kind of style of show, and this works. But their Uncle Lewis basically made a contract with the devil so he could have eternal life due to his wife passing away. And so he would sell cursed goods and to a whole lot of different people, and to varying degrees of evil. They would possess them, compel them, accentuate the evil already in them. Whatever these goods could do, they would to these people. And it was so he could get the trade-off of immortal life. Unfortunately, he decides to start screwing around with this pact, and Satan does not approve. Satan does his thing and takes him out. Satan, devil, whatever you want to call him. So Uncle Lewis passes away. The store goes to probate. It basically goes to young cousins who are married cousins. They're from separate families. They've just married into one another. And so they are now in charge, and that is Robbie, or Robbie, however you want to pronounce her name. And then you got John. Kev, help me here.
John D. LeMay.
John LeMay.
John LeMay.
Yeah, I wanted to say LeMay. I know he likes John D. LeMay, so I want to be correct about that. And he is Ryan. So these are the two cousins, Ryan and Mickey. And Mickey's got a fiance. She kind of has to like kick him to the wayside so she can like handle this story and the store for a little bit. But she has this really contentious time with everything until you get a few episodes in and they kind of resolve what's going on between the two of them. But then they get introduced to Jack. Chris Wiggins plays Jack Marshak, and he is basically the one with the most knowledge. He actually was partners with Uncle Lewis, and he knew about some of the secrets, but not all of them. He didn't know what was really going on. And then you find out, hey, Uncle Lewis definitely is not going to stay dead forever. And these three, they reunite. They determine we got to get a lot of these evil goods back and get them locked away, keep them put away forever. And that is basically the crux of the story, is the three of them have a responsibility to track down these things and keep people safe, save the world.
Yep. And then one of the things that it was also based on was the real life basement of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who were notable ghost demonologists, which there's no such thing, ghost hunters in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, who from the Conjuring movies and the Annabelle series. And it was Annabelle Comes Home. Is that the one where it all takes place in the basement? Basically, all the cursed artifacts get out, and these three kids basically have to deal with it. So they have this haunted museum of all these cursed artifacts that they've collected throughout their adventures over the years, and it's all bupkis. It's all bupkis. Annabelle's not the scary doll; she's this little Raggedy Ann doll that they have sitting in a glass case that no one could touch her. No one could touch her. So this is a lot more interesting than that. But having that knowledge, and you watch the intro to this show and you see all these little things that they're pointing out as the camera's first person point of view, basically looking at all these different items, and it kind of individualizes each different thing. And you're left wondering, what's the story with that thing, or the chimpanzee, the record player? What could it be? Yeah, and it just kind of gives you goosebumps thinking about it, because this show requires your imagination, and if you like horror, it's going to give you in spades everything your imagination craves.
without going too crazy. Like, this was definitely for syndicated TV market, so they had to try and sell this to local stations across the whole country. And oddly enough, you wouldn't think it would click. This really worked with a lot of people. It was paired up with a couple other TV shows. You were talking Freddy. I remember, Star Trek The Next Generation a couple of times was paired up with this on a Saturday afternoon. I think that's when like some event was going on that night, or Thursday, whichever night. I want to say it was either Thursday or Saturday, but whichever night it was on, if there was something going on that night, they'd kind of move everything around and then you could just watch. I want to say it was Saturday.
I want to say that was its mostly, for the most part, that's what was its original air date.
Yeah, now that I'm like thinking about it, because it's been a very long freaking time, but like Saturdays. But I'm pretty sure like they would just kind of move everything back like an hour or two if there was something else going on at that time. And I wasn't the biggest fan of Star Trek. I know. Shoot Jeff already. Like, get it over with. But at that time, I wasn't really into like Star Trek The Next Generation. You're talking its first season or two.
Yeah.
And that was kind of rough, but I would watch it. And I'd watch it with this and then whatever other show it was accompanied with at the time. A little fuzzy on whether that was War of the Worlds or if it was like Freddy's. I don't remember watching Freddy's at that time, but like this show was like my jam. And I had to watch it every single time. And if I missed it, I was mad about it. And I would always catch it on reruns because they would always rerun this show in between the next season. But this did so well in syndication that they actually brought it back for a second season and it kept strong ratings again. The ratings were going up. Then season 3 happened. Ratings kind of were still there, but a lot of people weren't feeling the show, and it unfortunately ended up getting canceled at that point, despite having strong ratings.
Yeah.
Most shows would kill for the ratings this got in syndication today.
This got more seasons than the other Friday Night Frights or the other Fright shows that was with it. Freddy only got 1 season, I think.
2.
Oh, did it get 2? Oh, that's right.
It was just 2, though.
It was just 2, but they had shorter seasons, I thought.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
War of the Worlds had 2. Tales from the Dark Side, I think, had 2.
I never watched that one.
That one was fun, if I remember.
I've seen the movie. I have never seen the show, though.
Well, that having been said, the movie.
Hey, do tell.
This dollar is going to be, well, you can't really see it on this. Anyway.
Green screen, baby.
Yeah, this dollar is yours. I owe you this dollar because I went for the last God knows how many years thinking that the only reference to Friday the 13th that this actually had was one line in the pilot episode where you find out that Uncle Lewis is Betsy Palmer's brother or Pamela Voorhees' brother. That is not the case. The Voorhees family, Crystal Lake, none of that is mentioned so far in the first 13 episodes, and I don't think it's going to be mentioned ever again.
No, I actually did some research like after I got through the 13, and I'm like, I need to not get into the 14th one. I need to actually like get ready for our show the other night, which we're doing it on a different night than we normally do. But that's really cool. We had things going on, but I ended up doing some research and I'm like, I thought there was something somewhere in this show that had a tie-in. And other than just a couple of actors that appeared in some of the Friday the 13th movies, none of them were the same characters or anything of the sort. There was no reference. Now, what it sounded like from some rumors and speculation is there would eventually be a little nod to Friday the 13th, the movie series with Jason, with his hockey mask being one of the items they would later claim. But that's never actually been proven, or, Frank never came around and said, yeah, we were going to do that. It's never been confirmed. It's never been proven. It's not been written down anywhere. It's just something that was rumored at some point. Because when, Frank Mancuso developed this show, he did this as like, hey, your dad's the head of Paramount. You can do whatever show you want, but it's got to have the goddamn name on it of Friday the 13th. and he did this wonderful anthology show, but it's like, why'd you call it Friday the fucking 13th? That's why he called it Friday the 13th, because that was the mandate he was given. Poor guy, I would have called this show Curious Goods, but without the Friday the 13th name tag, how many people would have just kind of checked out the show anyway? Not to say it wouldn't have worked. Although if you were going to find a middle ground, call it Friday the 13th, the series, and just the subtitle would be Curious Goods.
Yeah, because that's a perfect title for it. It really is.
Because most of the Friday the 13th movies have subtitles. Well, kind of once you hit like part 3 anyway.
Yeah, or chapter whatever.
Yeah.
The final chapter.
Yeah, because part 3, it's just called part 3 3D.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you get to 4 and then they start doing subtitles. But
stabby.
Gee, I wonder what we're talking about this weekend.
I don't know.
Big shock, everybody.
We'll talk about the movies later. I like this TV show. The show, I gotta be honest, this is probably the most fun I've had watching a show for our podcast. Probably since Jack of All Trades. Like Trimmers,
that was a fun one.
Jack of All Trades, and this is probably my 3 favorite experiences that we've done so far. And I'm absolutely loving this show. I know I've said I can get through the whole thing and be just as happy, but I know there's going to come that point where I'm like, all right, too much cheese. I was really entertained for the first 12 episodes. Once I got to the 13th, I don't know if it's
literally the 13th.
Yeah. I don't know if it was because I thought I was done at episode 12 and then had to throw in that 13th. Or
there's 24 episodes? No, there's 26, Kevin.
Fuck!
That's kind of why we're tying this in for doing 13 episode chunks at a crack.
It's like, fuck!
You should have seen our little message interchange at that point. I'm like, well, I'm on this episode. It's episode 10. And he's like, no, that's episode 11. I think you got your episodes mixed up. And I'm like, oh, well, we still have the 13. No, there's 12. No, there's 13 episodes.
Yeah, one of us is always right and one of us is always wrong, and it's just not always the same person. So
it can change within 5 seconds too.
That's why this dollar never actually leaves the house. But no, golly, that 13th episode felt like a slog filler.
That was the Baron's Bride. That is basically their version of a Dracula episode where they go back in time to like 1887. Oh, 1887. And then that's where they meet like Bram Stoker and his wife at the time. And she passes away and yada, yada. It's like Quantum Leap, like a history with a kiss. So
yeah,
that's where you get the little nod that, maybe it was Ryan who gave him all these bright ideas for how to kill Dracula.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it almost right away, and I didn't even remember this episode, to be frank.
I didn't either. Like, I vaguely remember the beginning with the lady attacking the guy.
Right. That's what I'm like, oh, I have seen this one. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, I don't remember this being in black and white.
Yeah. And
because that is a nice aesthetic, but I think that's how they kind of hid some of like the, the things they couldn't update due to like budgetary constraints for the settings.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, and when I say it was filler or slog, they're all filler. It's an anthology series, so like there's not a whole lot of continuity to it, except for Roby's fiance that becomes her ex-fiance. Who, goddamn, he screamed 80s. What a prick and a half that guy was. He was a lawyer, and when she inherits the store with her cousin, he's like, "Oh, maybe I could sue your cousin for the equity," and it's like, what a cunt you are, sir. Go away. Get out of this show. You're not fun.
Righteous douche. You almost look like something out of American Psycho, actually.
Yes, exactly.
Just he wasn't driving like a Corvette or something fun, but can't have him any sort of cool factor to him. And like, yeah, the other through line that was there was like Uncle Lewis coming back a few episodes later. Yeah. Trying to come back to life, and he kind of conned everybody, and I'll be back again. Damn you and your Scooby-Doo dog and everything like that.
With this kerchief.
That was super funny. I'm like, wow, something's carried through to the afterlife. Right on.
But that was so much fun. I enjoyed it. And it's like my wife didn't get to see, but maybe like the 12th and the 13th episode. So she wasn't really too paying attention to it, but I'd been telling her, I'm like, I'm really liking this. I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to. I did when I was 7, but here I am almost 47. I'm like, golly, I'm like,
10.
I was like, I'm having so much fun watching this shit. So she's like, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. She's like, this is fucking stupid.
Get out, woman.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, it's not stupid. It's old and cheap. There's a difference. Like, there's really no bad acting per se. Like, it's cheesy, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's a little cheesy at times, and it does get a little off as well. But the first few episodes, you got to understand that this is an older show, and it takes definitely a few episodes to really kind of like figure out, okay, this is how the character is going to act and develop and interact with everybody else and everything. They didn't have that much time to kind of work out those kind of kinks. So but they do. It takes a few episodes. It feels like, yeah, right, like Roby's kind of a bit in the beginning a little bit, but she settles the fuck down almost pretty quick.
Yeah.
And she gets past like her kind of like stiffness to her. And I'm not going to say it's because she got laid by her fiance before she kicked his ass to the curb, but you know, after that, she seemed to be a little more accepting of everything, and that fit her character because she understood, this is my responsibility now. This is what I'm doing. And if you're not going to be with me, get the fuck out of here.
Kind of, yeah. Like she kept
I like that arc for her.
Yeah. She kept trying to explain to him, I have a responsibility. Like, not only was it this put on us, but we also sold the rest of all the shit that he didn't sell. So, like, we really need to get this shit back.
Yep.
Which was a nice touch. They're like, but we just sold the rest of it.
For a fire sale, too. So you probably didn't even get a whole lot of money for it all. Everything must go.
But it was always so cool. I loved those two when I was little. Like, I looked up to those two. Like, you know.
I did too, actually. Yeah.
Like a kid would look up to Batman and Robin. Very similar situation. Like, I liked John just as much as I liked Tom Matthews. I really always did. Yeah. So, and again, Roby was probably one of my first crushes when I was a kid. And most likely why I have a thing for redheads. Her or Elvira, one of the two.
Cassandra.
Yeah. Anyway, but golly, I enjoy it still so much. Like the characters' camaraderie that they had with one another, the chemistry that they eventually had with one another was great. And I think now that I'm older, I want to say Jack still might be my favorite character because he's like a fucking con man. He's so smart and so worldly that he's like a con man.
And he shows those skills quite often, actually.
Yes. And
I can pick locks. I can forge documents for you. Hey, I got this book over here that might have the answer to things. And because he sold a bunch of these things to Lewis and actually was his partner for quite a while, this is the kind of thing you really want in a show. Like, it's not some random, I'm some guy from your distant past. I'm actually really your 40th cousin on your aunt's twice removed 7th sister's list and shit like that. I was his business partner. I didn't know the shit he was up to this last few years and shit. Now I feel like I helped fuck everything up. So I'm going to take care of this with all you.
Yeah. Jack just thought that Lewis was collecting these magical items for whatever purposes. He didn't realize he was purposely setting them loose upon the world.
Right. And this is also where I kind of point out anybody who's ever seen Supernatural, the TV show, Jim Beaver's character, Bobby, is almost a complete lift of Jack Marshak from this show. But it's very different, but it's almost the same kind of character and spirit. and Jim Beaver nails it perfectly. He eventually evolves the character beyond into like something more and more unique to himself. But the initial character of Bobby is very much akin to, what Chris did here with Jack Marshak.
Mm-hmm. And in a way, so is Constantine, just not remotely as nice.
True.
Not remotely. But, and again, going back to Annabelle and the Warrens, one of the first things that they have to go chasing after is a possessed doll that talks to people and has telekinesis and all sorts of fun shit.
I love that doll going, she should be punished.
Kill her. She's a bitch.
You can't do it. I'll do it for you.
But I mean, the doll had moxie, man. First, she fucking cut some dude's throat. That was cool. And again, for a show that doesn't have very much horror to it, they show the horror to it.
Yeah, they do.
There's not a lot, but they show a razor line get cut across this guy's throat. It shows them drop a fucking bookshelf on top of this lady, suck out some other lady's soul or suffocate her, whatever they was doing. She was making out somehow.
Stabbings, blood against a wall as a body drops down the wall.
That was dope. That was dope.
That's what I'm like, oh damn, I forgot about that. Because my memory was always, this show was never much of a bloody movie, or bloody show, but I guess it really was. They just kind of saved it for particular moments.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did, but they didn't have the censorship on TV back then that they do now.
Oh, yeah.
Things were different. Like, you couldn't show so much, but then there were things that you really could show. Like, Christ, there's so many TV shows where it's like, was that a nipple?
Well, it's like with Star Trek The Next Generation. The first season, Picard says damn almost like 5 times in an episode for like 26 episodes. So to your point, the swearing of that back then, I mean, y'all think that's not really swearing from back then. No, back then that was actually kind of a thing.
Yeah.
For the 80s is like swearing was like uber no. We're in a different time now where you can actually say like words like shit on network TV. Damn it is so commonplace now. Like back then, none of that was a thing. Same thing with like the blood. I remember watching cop shows with my dad where you never saw like barely any blood at all. Just watch Columbo a little bit from like the 70s. They had a little on that, but you get to like Murder, She Wrote, and it's just, you just see the hand and like the murder weapon just off to the side. And it's like, so how did this actually happen? A lot of things were off screen. This was a little more, we were starting to move our way up the ladder, so to speak, of evolution for TV shows. And this is one of those that might have helped that along a little bit.
I want to say the worst it's gotten that we've seen so far was the Faith Healer episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was gnarly.
Yeah. Where it's basically this guy's got this magic leather white glove. Yep. And they even crack a joke that he's like Michael Jackson. And he'll put his hand on the person and the glove will take the disease from them, but then it takes the disease into the wearer. And the glove itself starts to show signs of the disease. And then he's got to touch somebody else with the glove to pass the disease. Yeah, to pass it along to them. And it's really neat looking because it looks like he has leprosy all over the glove and then underneath it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of gnarly to see. And you're like, oh, they had fun with the latex on this one. Good for them.
Well, they also had a fun director handling that episode. David Cronenberg directed that particular episode, and it kind of worked. It really did.
I bet that guy's going to go places.
Yeah, the name might ring a bell for people or two.
It buzz around in your head.
Yeah.
Who again, of course, comes back and gets killed. Is the first person killed in Jason 10 or Jason X.
Jason X, yep.
They
asked him if he'd do the role, and he basically said, only if you kill me.
Yeah. And I want to say that's part of the special features too, is him going, oh yeah, I had to get killed.
Yeah, that was part of the deal, actually.
That was
It
really
tells you how
fun.
much that man loves horror. Like he's willing to do like a bit cameo just to get killed because he likes the franchise that much.
Well, to be part of this
I do the
genre,
same fucking thing, to be honest. You know, hey, I'll do it for free. You can kill me. That's cool.
Jonah was in Hatchet too. He gets killed in the first 5 minutes, and it's glorious. It's like Jonah gets his eyes popped right out. I'm like, that's my friend.
Right on, Jonah. When we do Maximum Overdrive, I'm going to reach out to you, though.
I want to do, God, I can't even think of it right now. Not Forgotten America. Oh, don't show him this episode. He's going to kick my ass.
Well, move it along, Kevin. We'll get into other things here.
Yeah.
But no, you have any other favorite episodes? I would bring up maybe the comic book episode, the Tales of the Undead.
Okay, so yeah, that one was a lot of fun. That is my favorite, I'm going to say, because I knew the story behind that, and it was very evident. But you don't really hear about that in the news until 20 years later, long after Batman 89.
Yeah.
So the Tales of the Undead episode has a very, very similar storyline to how Batman was created. Bob Kane took the idea or the concept of Batman from Bill Finger, bought it from him, and buried him so he couldn't fucking claim any stakes to Batman as a creator. And then Bob Kane, who never created another fucking thing a day in his life, went around like he was Stan Lee, but on like rock star level, and telling everyone he was the creator of Batman. Like he's the next best thing because he created Batman. He did not. Bill Finger did. And Bill Finger's family was not remotely as wealthy as Bob Kane's family was as a result of that. So that was very much shown in this episode here, where a comic book creator got his concepts bought out by a DC type publisher, who basically screwed him over so he had nothing. And then his hospice nurse or caretaker was taking like old concept sketches and old number ones and selling them under his nose so she can make a little extra scratch. And
they were just collecting dust.
Yeah, and she sells a cursed number one comic book, so whoever's holding it can become this invulnerable Superman type character. And he finds out about it and starts killing her. And she's the one that gets thrown up against the wall, and you just see blood splatter everywhere from behind her head, where you're like, woohoo! Because it was so cool looking.
Jackpot is what that was.
Kind of, yeah. But then if you're thinking about it, like, this is Bill Finger, you're like, kind of like, well, I don't really want him to lose.
Yeah, right. Well, it also had some great acting in it too. So I totally appreciated seeing Ray Walston in here.
Yes. As I love to call him, the grandfather from his son-in-law, the one that wouldn't let Crotch whittle with them. Crawl.
And that man was in a lot of these shows back then too. So he was making the rounds, and his acting level just brought everybody up a notch as far as I was concerned. Because when the episode first starts, it's just like, oh, we're getting some weird kind of like possessed comic book kind of episode. And they take that concept and they add to it and make it their own. So it's not just some sort of typical formula episode.
Well, the comic book guy, the big fat sweaty guy that was working behind the desk,
chomping on Simpsons.
Big old fucking cigar. I wanted to throw my fucking drink at the screen. It's a comic book shop. There's no smoking.
Well, not only that, but as a collector of like physical media, and I have a little long box of some of my comics over here that I finally got around to getting a real box instead of some like stupid banker box. And like, I'm seeing them taking the comic and just kind of folding it and crumpling it in their hands throughout the whole episode. I'm like,
it's not your dick.
I'm like, oh my God, you are murdering that comic book page by page at this point. Like, even if you were to kind of like read kind of like undo that and try and straighten it out, you will never get any money for that. And I know it's possessed and they're never going to sell the damn thing, but like the collector in me was just screaming like, that's not how you hold a fucking comic book.
CGC just went down to 3.
It's like somebody watched the movie Alien when, you know, rolling up the magazine and trying to shove it down Ripley's throat. I'm just like, no. I felt bad for the comic.
Kind of, yes.
Episode. But like, I really like the store. I like the setup. And when, you know, the main owner of the store, I like how he was interacting with everybody.
Yeah.
To begin with. But I also was like, you know, he reminds me of that character out of The Simpsons. I wonder if that's maybe where they got this idea. But wasn't Simpsons starting around this time too, or about to start?
About to start.
I was going to say that was what, 89?
87 also, I think.
I will take a quick look.
I think 87 or 88. I could be wrong.
The Simpsons. Riveting podcasting. Started in 1989. So
Fuck!
yes. But it was Fox, so.
Fuck.
Money.
Shit. Lost $2 tonight. Anyway, I love this shit so much.
We have so much fun doing this. But no, the comic episode, like, set up, the settings, everything worked out very well. A couple of the houses, like the house that Ray's character, Jay, what did I write down here?
Starman?
Jay Star, like the short kind of actual like pen name. The house he lived in, there was a house very similar to that near where I lived when I was in Wisconsin a couple of years ago. And I'm like, they shoot part of this in fucking Wisconsin? Because I know that fucking house. But then you go around the corner and it's like, yeah, that's definitely not the house. And that's definitely not the same location. But like one side looked legitimately like a house I lived near in Wisconsin years ago.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. It was a nice house. Inside.
God, yeah. Like I loved his fireplace and everything.
Kind of, yes. That was just a fun episode to watch. Jack, I don't think Jack was in that one. Like that was the one episode where he was gone. And I think the next episode, it was just the kids.
Yep.
So, or it was just him, not so much the kids. Anyway, but yeah, it was a fun episode. They were all fun episodes. I can't say any of them were boring. Not even the 13th one.
No, that one just felt a little bit jarring because it's like, you know, you were doing so good. And now we're kind of messing around a little bit with time travel. It's like, I don't think we needed a time travel sort of episode in this, but it did give us a cool version of Dracula and vampirism. So I'm not going to complain too bad about that one.
No. But the show, I mean, other than that, the show was actually kind of topical too. Like they would mix current 80s hot topics and merge it with whatever story they were having, like the homelessness, where you've got the Madonna type figure who wants to put on the charity concert for all the homeless people because she used to be that way. But in reality, she was an old lady that found this teacup that sucks the youth out of people when they drink from it and then gives it to her. That was cool. But again, it got preachy with the homelessness thing.
Yeah, they got that way a few times, but that was the first time I'm like, yeah, looking back, yeah.
That's how it was at the time. Like there was just the hot topic or the hot button issues, the whales. This was before global warming, so that wasn't in there, but it would have been one of those things. Homelessness.
Star
Trek 4. Lawyers, all sorts of shit. The televangelism, that was definitely a big thing back then.
That, you know, out in the country with the innkeeper and trying to use a scarecrow to kill everybody. She was basically like a land grabber, is what she was. Like,
Yeah, that was cool.
I was watching that one. I'm like, there's some elements of Wicker Man here, which is pretty cool.
Oh, was there?
I mean, but it was no druidism or anything like that. But it felt like a little bit of like little Wicker Man with little Children of the Corn mixed in, but like all blended up and given a different coat of paint. So it felt different, but I kept getting vibes of like, that's kind of neat. I kind of dig this one. I wasn't sure I was going to like that one because as a kid, I remembered that episode very clearly. Was like one of my favorites, but I totally appreciated it this time around because they used a fake scarecrow just to kill off some person randomly, which actually made story sense. Like, no, she's trying to get a hold of this other family that's trying to stay out of everything. And so she takes out their kid, she takes out the wife, and then later the husband she tries to take out, or does. And then it's just completely crazy. And then she finally gets her own in the end.
But did you notice by the end of the episode, she was wearing Betsy Palmer's sweater?
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm like, that seems oddly familiar without being the same sweater.
Yes, like it if it wasn't the same one, which I'm sure it wasn't, it looked very similar to it, like in color and style. But then they had it over this weird Victorian dress that was like really puffed up out of the neck that was just not the way anything else looked. And I had to point out to my wife, I'm like, dude, check it out. I'm like, fucking, I know what you did last summer. Totally stole the fucking rain slicker from her.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because I don't remember seeing anything like that as a kid before. So that had to be where they got an idea from.
Yeah. And it wasn't like a blatant disrespectful steal. It was a cool concept. Nobody else had done it, and that's what they went with, and it worked.
I call that an homage.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's a nice tip of the hat, but we're doing something completely different with it. We're not completely ripping it off.
Yeah.
So.
Or it could have been the guy from Gordon's Fish Sticks. We don't know.
Gordon's Fish. That's right.
I got kids. But that one was a lot of fun because I love scarecrows. They are fucking terrifying. I love the Messengers too because it has.
I have like 3 scarecrow horror movies in my collection. I have nothing to bitch about with that.
Yeah, like If I Only Had a Brain is one of my favorite songs. So like I've got a thing for them. There was another one though. What else? It was just like really grabbed the shit out of me. I'm losing it now.
Was it Poison Pen, Cupid's Quiver?
Yes, it was the Poison Pen. That's one that I remember from being a kid.
Yeah, I remember that one very well too.
I remember Roby being brother Simon and not speaking. That's what I really
Simon at Kevin.
Simonette.
Simone.
But that one was creepy on several different levels. Not in a horror sense. It was more fun for the horror sense.
Yes.
It was creepy with the weird brothers like having peepholes everywhere. Like why do you have cock level peepholes in your monastery, my man? Like,
dude, glory holes.
I don't care if it's Jessica Biel. I don't care if it's a fucking troll in my head. It's Jessica Biel.
Well, it could be worse. It could have had a phone number next to it that said 867-5309.
That's my number.
Janet, who can I turn to?
I'm gonna have glory hole stuck in my head for the rest of the night. God damn it.
You are welcome. And just serve as a reminder what you need to do tomorrow.
I have a show to produce tomorrow. I ain't got time for glory holes. Or do I? Multitask, motherfucker, multitask.
You know what'll help with that, Kevin?
Come upstairs and see my etching.
Roby's.
Do I need to play that again for you?
Please.
Come upstairs and see my etching.
Yeah. Her voice is very unique because it has 3 different accents at least. It's got a British accent to it because she
A little
comes
bit.
off very regal sometimes. She's Canadian, and you hear Hollywood chic.
Did that work for you, Kevin?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm very distracted easily. But again,
I was picking up on that too.
I like Mickey so much, and I like Roby that I'm just kind of like, meh, I don't care. It's the 80s. Everyone did that in the 80s. Like the Hollywood chic thing. If you wanted to pretend to be somebody, that's just what you did.
Yeah. Yeah. She did a fantastic job. Her, John, Chris, like everybody brought their A game as far as like the main cast goes. Once you got past a few episodes, like smooth sailing from there as far as chemistry, acting. I really think like Chris actually brought these two up to the level they needed to be at in order for this to be a successful show.
Yeah.
So.
The only thing I could have done without, and you only see it within the first 3 episodes, I think, is they put John in a business suit top with shorts. And
I don't remember that.
Yeah, watch the first and the 3rd episode specifically. They've got him very
Cupid's. Oh, okay. Yeah.
wacky, zany 80s type character. And Ryan gets much better as the episodes go on.
Yeah, like some of the 80s like costume design and 80s hair was kind of throwing me for a little bit of these first 13 episodes. I'm like, man, and I remember hairstyles like that now. Well, the picture behind you on the green screen for Roby is like, man, that hair is wild, yo. Very poofy.
Yeah.
Her with some straight hair. Chef's kiss on that.
She's just beautiful one way or the other.
Oh,
she
yeah.
always was. And then we can't show it on the show because we'll get dinged for copyright, but I got to show Jeff what Steve Martin sent to me this morning. He says, "Oh, Kev, you remember this, don't you?" And I look, and Steve always sends me the most incredibly eclectic shit. And so I'm always excited when he sends me stuff, and I look to see what it is, and it's a music video by Roby, One Night in Bangkok. Wow. There was so much cocaine involved in the making of this video. It was so cool. Very 80s, very fun, very chic.
Very wild hair.
Yes.
Billowy.
Very girl power. Almost Cleopatra-like in a way, but very 80s, over the top, zany. I liked it better than the original. God help me, I'm sorry, but I did.
It could have been worse. It could have been a Poison music video. Air Supply, something like that.
Talk dirty to me.
Yep. Or Boston or Bon Jovi. Yep.
We don't say his name here.
Say his name 3 times and he'll appear, Kevin.
Fuck that.
Out of here.
I got a pin. Hi. This is Baby Knife. She's going to fuck you in the face now.
That's the glory hole I was looking for.
Gonna blow my load at the glory hole. Anyway, we talked very little about the Cupid one. The Cupid one was fun because it was creepy. Like,
yeah,
it had my favorite kill, I think, where the guy picks up the girl in the bar and she decides that she loves him now, and he offers her a little bit of honey, and you're thinking it's going to get a little kinky and shit. It does.
It does.
He goes off to take a piss with his jacket and comes back after telling her lock the door just in case. Like, he warns her, so you know something bad is going to happen to her. And he like tosses in his jacket that is now carrying a fucking beehive. And he just sits there and watches her get stung to death. I didn't dislike that. I thought it was cool.
Well, and we're gonna get another B episode at some point as well, and that's the other one I remember very, very well. And that one, that episode,
Is that going to give me bad dreams? Because you know I hate bees.
gave me some as a kid. These days, it's like it's one of those. It's one of my favorite episodes of this, and I'm looking forward to getting into that one.
There was an episode that I want to say very vividly remember, but at this point, when I say very vividly, I just mean it's one that I remember. There was a clubhouse that a kid had, and when they would go into the clubhouse, it was like the TARDIS, where it was like twice as fucking big on the inside as it was on the outside.
Right.
And I remember loving it, and I've seen it once, maybe twice, and it just stuck with me. Always did. And I had that paired up with an episode of War of the Worlds that I used to like that was in season 2. Now, I haven't gone back to watch season 2 because season 2 doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So I'm hoping this doesn't end up being in season 3. I hope this turns out to be better than as good as I remember it being.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my only caveat with the rest of the show is like, now is the rest of this going to hold up as well as like this is holding up? I have a feeling it will. My big question will probably center around season 3 though. Because I remember when John leaves the show, or he got let go from the show, however you want to look at that, the new guy, I wasn't a fan of him at all.
Don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. Like, I probably would have been put off not seeing John with Mickey.
Yeah. For some reason, I remember that as a kid being like, not feeling this, but I still liked the overall show. And we still had 2 out of 3 of the main characters. So,
yes, but Ryan was so good, like integral. Like I said, John is on the same level as Tom Matthews to me when it comes to like horror hero type character. Because again, we see him later on in Jason Goes to Hell.
Right on.
Which I always loved that character. I just had not put that together that it was John until you said that. I'm like, fuck, it is. Yep. Did you know that? I swear to God, I really am a smart person in real life, kids.
Okay.
I just don't pay attention to shit. Meep meep.
Now, what'd you think of the Great Montano episode, Kevin?
Oh, that was kind of fun.
Number 6. We're just going to run down through these now at this point.
Now, do you think that inspired Lord of the Rings in any way? Not Lord of the Rings.
Lord of Illusions.
Lord of Illusions, yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a few episodes I felt like, I get vibes of this in this episode and this and that episode. And this is one I wrote down, Lord of Illusions. There was another one earlier, the Poison Pen one, where I'm like, this is a great concept for Death Note that's eventually going to come out from Japan at some point.
That's right.
Where you write a name in a book,
and
a special notebook. You don't need a special pen. This was a special pen. But this pen, you basically wrote down a little story on how somebody dies, and it happens. With Death Note, you just write a name in a book. You could add details to it on how you wanted them to die. So that's one of those. And then in this particular one, I was thinking Lord of Illusions a bit.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. You didn't think it was going to be, or the killer who it was going to be until towards the third act, towards the like last 10 minutes or so.
They did a good job holding that back a bit.
Yeah, there was quite, and again, it's a story about magicians, so forgive me for saying it. There was quite a few MacGuffins in the story.
Quite a few.
Yeah, and it was really neat. And it was very much like the scene where Harry goes to the magic castle and is finding out that magicians are like tight-assed secret keepers, and it was a lot of fun to see. There was not so much gore to it. It was a little cheap and cheesy, but again, you utilize that imagination and it's going to be a lot of fun for you. Basically, they had a cabinet where a victim got put in it, and when physical harm would come to you, it would bypass you and the harm would go into the person in that cabinet. And so when this guy got like impaled by 6 swords, he was fine, but the lady sitting in this cabinet underneath the stage just got impaled and would be sacrificed for the cabinet. And it was a lot of fun to see. And the very end was fun because Roby gets stuck in there, and Jack and Ryan are trying to get her out right as the lady pulls the lever down for these 6 swords to go through her father, but kill Roby instead. And right as she pulls the lever, they pull Roby or Mickey out of the cabinet.
Yeah, cabinet. Yeah.
The magic cabinet, and then she kills her dad on accident.
Irony, everybody.
It was fun, and then she legitimately feels like grief for it. So you're kind of like, ah.
Gotcha, bitch.
Like, you laugh at like the worst shit in this story.
Oh, I was laughing when they killed like that poor stagehand who was dressed up looking like Jack, and he was doing the rope gag where he's upside down. He's got like the straight jacket on, and then they light the rope on fire as he hangs over this bed of like daggers, nails, whatever. I forgot what it was, but basically over the death trap, and he dies, and then you find out Jack's been like trapped in another room somewhere.
Oh, sorry, I'm late.
That's funny.
Yeah, what happened to him?
Yep, basically. So that was super fucking. I cracked up so bad with that. I'm like, I completely forgot about that, and that just got me.
I do enjoy that one because I have a few friends that are magicians, and again, I love the old Clive Barker stories and stuff like that. And I like seeing things like this inspire other horror movies that came about. Like we said, the Rain Slicker, the silhouette. That was really cool to see, knowing that we're going to see it in a bigger picture later on that made fucking tons of money. The Magicians, One Night in Bangkok is definitely fucking about Hellraiser. Gotta be. Sorry. The Scarecrow, we'd see that again in The Messengers 2, which I don't think The Messengers 2 did it as well, because the Scarecrow in this was basically the story of the Golem, the old Hebrew story of the Golem, where you write the name down on a scroll, roll it up, and put it in the Golem's mouth. The Golem would go kill that person. In this, you had to put a picture on the Scarecrow's chest, and he would go kill that person. And the great irony of this episode is the lady knocking the Scarecrow down, and then her wedding picture falls down on top of him, and he wakes back up and goes after her.
Off with her head.
It was cool. But that was the episode where they had a fucking plot hole where I was like, go back to it! Where Ryan says, or Roby says, well, if it took all the heads, where did the heads go? And they just kind of leave it at that.
I was like, that was fantastic.
I wanted to see the pile of heads. Damn.
Or if they were buried or whatever.
Yeah. But again, it left it up to your imagination. So your imagination had to do a little bit of overtime on that episode.
Yeah, they didn't always like do those kind of little zingers at the end or stingers, but when they did, they were always very good.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
I really liked how the cross then falls over and it's like, well, Scarecrow's done.
Yeah, right. That was fun. This was a time where you see it a little bit more, like American Horror Stories trying to do it more often because their long running series or seasons aren't working out as well. But the anthology stories were so great for this time. It took what Rod Serling created and perfected, and it just kept rolling with it. And they did such wonderful stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, they're Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, new Twilight Zone, new Outer Limits,
Night Gallery.
Yep, all the good stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I love horror anthology series like this. Like,
this one really worked for me.
Yeah, I don't know how War of the Worlds. How? I don't know. But I'm glad this was better than that. And our glasses are just rose and not rose tinted.
Oh yeah, because then we roll into like Dr. Jack for episode 7, where they get the surgical scalpel, and that's kind of an interesting episode. We basically get a horror movie in a hospital for like 45 minutes, and unfortunately, the doctor has to save Jack after he tried to kill him, and then he tries to kill him again after saving him, and
how did they get him with that one? I don't remember, because I know the scalpel had to transfer its power. Did he not? I don't remember what messed him up, but I know that he got stuck having to save Jack, and he was like, "Oh, I'll check on him when we're done."
Yep, and then he was gonna go like cut him, kill him, but he ended up getting his own ass stabbed by the damn thing. So,
sucker.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That wasn't too bad. If I had any sort of comments about that, is like, where did the lady go at the end? Jean? But then they mentioned at the very end that she was on her way back to home.
The lady that was trying to kill him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't recall that one either.
Yeah, I mean, there was a very quick line at the very, very end. They're like, "Oh, where's Jean? Oh, she's on her way home." But in the middle of that big fight at the end, where he's cornering, Ryan and Mickey in the boiler room, so to speak, I felt like I was watching like 90s wrestling. We're in the boiler room. But he was about ready to take them out. The lady just clocks him behind the head with a board. Then you never see her again for the rest of the episode, except for a quick comment. Yep, she's on her way back home. While this guy's still trying to kill Ryan and Mickey for like the next 6 minutes. It's like, where'd the bitch go?
My work here is done.
And when he got knocked out, why didn't you go and grab the scalpel while he was knocked down and out real quick? But
kinda, she deserved a prison shank, that motherfucker, because he butchered her little girl.
Well, yeah, but Mickey got him. She electrocuted his ass. So
with the ADR paddles,
which I'm like, were those even really plugged in?
It was battery operated.
Okay, sure. All right. Shadow Boxer, boxing gloves, Kevin, episode number 8.
Okay, so that one was fun. There was a David Ferry who played Tommy in that. We'd later see him. What a
sleazeball.
He was a sleazeball, constantly kissing and licking on Mickey, and he came off as a complete sleazeball.
Yep.
But from what I understand, he's one of the nicest fucking guys in the world. He's one of the detectives, Detective Dolly on Boondock Saints.
Yep.
And all those guys were just really swell people. So I was kind of like, oh, yeah, it was super cool to see him. But was it the Cornelius? I was afraid he was going to get his head punched off. I really was. I liked that guy. The Shadowboxer episode was one of those I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to end or progress, because I kind of remembered this as a kid, mostly due to the special effects with touching the gloves with the shadow on the wall. Then the shadow goes off and takes him out while he's just basically in the ring, just kind of doing his normal thing. So he has the perfect alibi. And then you have to get creative. How do you defeat the shadow? How do you defeat him? Well, you could defeat the shadow and get the gloves away, but then he's got the perfect alibi. How could he have actually done anything without explaining, yeah, these are cursed boxing gloves and they totally will fuck you up? Nobody's going to buy that. And so ultimately he gets his own ass in trouble because he can't keep away from the gloves. Somehow he tracks down Mickey, Ryan, and Jack and, basically takes Mickey hostage, asks for the gloves back, and boy, does Ryan give him one of the gloves back, but he's wearing the other one. He punches Jack in the gut, gives him a good left hook across the eye, and knocks out poor Tommy, and also knocked out Jack. Yeah. Poor Jack.
Who was so pissed.
I didn't hit him that hard.
that was the best line. I swear I didn't hit him that hard.
Meanwhile,
and then in the next shot, you see Jack is total black eye, and he's like still holding his stomach as he's walking around. Like, dude, you kicked my ass for no fucking reason.
And fucking like rages at Ryan. I hold you personally responsible.
One day I'm gonna get back at you, Ryan. One day you'll not see it coming.
But I mean, you, for your friend, you'd take a shot like that. I mean, I would, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, and it left Tommy knocked out with permanent brain damage to where he's not going to wake up because he's got so much scarring on his brain.
Yeah.
And they said that was from getting his ass kicked so many times while he was inside. And you're like, well, all right. And the Cornelius guy is like, well, I feel better about it because it wasn't my punch that did it to him.
That's very true.
Wussy. I don't know. You watch The Quiet Man where like John Wayne goes off to Ireland because he can't handle fucking having killed somebody in the ring. It's like, you pussy, you won.
Yeah, like
I'm a mercenary.
Nothing wrong with that. We like our mercenary shows on here too. Human Target, everybody. And before we get into the next episode, we actually kind of skipped one.
Did we?
Halloween, Kevin.
Oh.
The 5th episode where Uncle Lewis tried to come back and get resurrected with his fun little assistant. Medallion.
Which, yes, when you could still say dwarf on TV.
Well, Jack called her a midget half the time.
Little people, let's be polite. But my fucking thing was how do you know she had dwarfism? What are you, a doctor?
Nobody tosses a dwarf.
Fucker. Anyway, that was a cool episode. Again, that was when you could still have little people working as demons, without having several groups jumping your ass. Lewis came off like a complete prick, worse than the first episode, because in the first episode he's trying to redeem himself. He doesn't want to sell this doll. He doesn't want these people in the store. He just wants them out. He wants to get rid of his shit and leave.
Yep. And
he doesn't. And in this, it's not necessarily escaping hell. It's wanting to get a new body and get back to work at being a douche.
Yep.
So they kind of scaled Lewis back and made him more basic, and I think that worked better.
I think so too, because it also gave an interesting dynamic to the show, like when or if he can even come back yet again.
Yeah.
So you would always have that specter hanging over this show, and whether you'd have to deal with it. They basically implied at the end, like, every Halloween we're going to have to deal with his ass. So next time we're going to have to be a little bit more prepared.
And then the only time they say the phrase, in 2 weeks, it's Friday the 13th.
You mean
2 weeks from now, it'll be Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Kevin did not know I clipped that.
I didn't know. That's fucking awesome, because that's one of my favorite quotes from the show so far.
Yep, because that's about as close as to a connection to anything we will ever get. But
somebody's birthday, I don't know. It was some,
Well, what I liked about that episode is how Jack was handled. They basically got him out of the shop and away from everybody, got him trapped somewhere, and he had to like kind of get these two idiot hillbillies to break him out as he's calling him out. Then he just uses magic to vanish real quick. And then ultimately, like, he's got to do some fun stuff just to get back to the party, and they got to deal with Uncle Lewis. And it really worked. It showed everybody trying to get back together to take out the big bad. So I really appreciated that one.
And then it gives a little bit of backstory and human nature to Jack too.
Yes.
Where you find out he was in love with their aunt.
Yep. I liked her more than I should, but not as well as I wanted.
Yeah. And that kind of gave me goosebumps. Like, oh man, I felt that shit.
Her name was Grace or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris really sold that line. I felt it. It was good.
He was, we'll say it a few times, like, he was an amazing actor as Jack. Like, he really made this show work, in my opinion.
Agreed. And again, when you were saying he had to get his way out of that cage, it's like he's a fucking con man. He knew those two guys weren't there to help him at all or wouldn't help him.
They're just there to shit talk him, and he's like, well, I'm gonna get these guys to help me out here.
He gets them to fucking rip the gate apart with their truck.
Well, what are you gonna do about it? I'm stuck behind these bars over here, bitches.
Pussies.
Do nothing.
Does that truck got any balls on it?
You know, that if they could have had a line like that, that would have been dope to hear. Like, you guys got no balls on that truck to get me out of here.
The only balls on that truck are the plastic things on the back of it.
Hanging from the trailer hitch, you bastards.
But that was so cool. I love him. And one of my favorite things of his, I don't remember which episode it was. It might have been the Faith Healer episode, was where they kick him out of the mega church, I think. And he's got this bent thing. He's like, they bent my lock picks.
What kind of bastards do that? And then you got Ryan who's trying to unbend them. I'm like, dude, you're going to have to buy a new set.
Might as well unbend that comic book next, Ryan. Dipshit.
He was the comic book fan.
Until Mickey got into Green Lantern.
Yes. That was really funny. I need episode 17. It's in the box. Figure it out.
Figure it out. That's how I grew up too. Can I read this? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yep. Goodbye.
See ya.
Well, speaking of digging, Kevin, root of all evil.
Oh,
the Mulcher episode.
That was fun.
I was gonna say, you want to tell people about that one?
Yeah, this one didn't go remotely the way I thought it was gonna go.
Me neither.
It starts out with this elderly couple, and the woman's kind of nagging the old man, and he turns around and cracks her across the head with his rake. And then you assume that he tosses
metal rake.
Yeah, one of the big thick metal rakes, not like your wood rake or leaf rake.
Yep.
So I mean, that was like instant death, and then chips her away. And then it fast forwards, I don't know how many weeks or months. Now somebody else owns it. It's a landscaper. And the landscaper has a new apprentice, and he starts getting possessed by this wood chipper. So you're like, oh, the wood chipper wants people to fucking eat. Oh, yum. Okay, I'm down with this episode. And they're having all these weird references to money here and there. Like, here's this $100 bill. Wow, it's brand new. It's dated 1937.
Interesting.
Here's a $5 bill. Looks brand new. Dated 1937. Okay, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And it turns out the machine was built in 1937 or cursed in 1937, one of the two. And when you throw people into the machine, its benefit isn't giving you power. It gives you money. Like, it
converts them into money. Yep.
The wealthier they are, the more money it pumps out when you throw them in the wood chipper. And so, like, this guy
was twisted, dude.
The guy keeps like trying to find more and more wealthier victims to where he gets to the plantation owner of where they're working, and he sees the lady walk past, and he's like, I could throw her in there and get a whole bunch of cash.
Jackpot.
Yeah, but he gets tossed in there, or the bag of money that he has gets tossed in, and he jumps in after the bag. And he won't let the bag go, so he gets sucked in along with it. All the money disappears, and what comes in the shoot bag or the collection bag is just nothing but like bloody wet pulp.
He was worthless, Kevin.
Yeah, he was worth nothing. He had nothing. All that was left was just like blood and sinew, and it was just leaking out this bag, and you're left there going, ooh, fun.
Hell of a way to get rid of the evidence when the body is cash. Just spend the money. I was just like, holy crap, that's really wild. I remembered parts of that episode from before, but I didn't remember how it like ended like at all. And when they had that as the reveal and stinger at the end, I'm like, oh, that's brutal.
Oh, And then the neighbor that almost bludgeons them with the crowbar at the beginning. I was like, he looks really familiar.
You're right.
And I look it up. It's George Buzza. And if you don't know who that is, it's the Beast from the original 1980s X-Men cartoon. I was like, son of a bitch.
When you told me that, I was like, no, really? Oh, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so if you close your eyes and if you listen really closely, you won't hear it because it's a completely different voice that he uses. But it definitely is him.
Damn right.
You got to know your voice actors, kids.
Oh, yeah. Because eventually they show up on TV like Dan Castellaneta.
Or Nolan North.
Or Nolan, yeah.
Kevin Conroy. They're all on TV.
Well, eventually Kevin actually got to do Bruce Wayne and Batman, though.
That was dope.
Not in the way I would have preferred, but it still worked.
Okay. Up until the twist, it was really cool.
Right.
Once you find out, like, he lost all of his faith and was a douchebag, you're like, nah.
Yep. We're done with that one then.
This is why the Arrowverse sucks.
Yep. They should have done Blackest Night.
He was already broken. Anyway.
Well, if you survive, please come again with Tales of the Undead in episode number 10, which we have already talked about to everybody.
Did we? We did.
It's one of the coolest episodes of the first batch here. So
the only thing I didn't like about it was the design of the superhero. Like, it looked like a cross between a Dalek and the Black Knight.
The Invincible
Flaccid or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Valak.
Ferris.
Yeah, Ferris. Another Green Lantern reference, kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Green Lantern got dropped a few times throughout the season, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm going to guess somebody was a fan.
Had to be.
But anyway, yeah, it was a fun episode. There was twists to it. It had great actors in it. It gave fun backstory for Ryan being just a grown-up kid that loved his comic books and explaining why he loved the comic books.
Right.
Which is basically speaking for everybody that read comic books at a young age. It was really well written, really well acted.
Yeah, that's where I felt like they really gelled with the production on all levels. Like, you could feel the show like getting better and better and better as it went along. Even the first couple of episodes, they're still pretty good. I mean, there were some kinks to work out, but by the time you get to like episode 4, it's like, yo, we are on a roll here. Let's fucking go. And most shows couldn't even do that in their first season. To get that well put together by this point that's like lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if they did it the entire time or if they started it about halfway through. The end credit scene is always a picture of that episode's artifact that was cursed.
Yes.
And so you got to sit there and stare at like the creepy doll or the the teeth of the wood chipper, the teeth of hell. I don't remember if they showed you the pin or if there was the pendulum in the poison pin episode, but
I thought it was just the pen.
It might have been, but it was all really cool to see. Like, there was nothing that was boring, nothing that was lackluster. It was all fun.
Right. Yeah, because we've actually now talked about like the last 3 episodes, like Scarecrow, Faith Healer, and then Baron's Bride.
Okay, so I had a hard time. The last thing I could say about any of those episodes is the Faith Healer, where he does find out that he's got like leprosy on his hands. All I could hear when he was like looking at you see his watch there too. Sam Kinison going, wait a second, this isn't mine. Leper whore! There must be 4 or 5 leper dicks in here. Sorry.
Come upstairs and see my itching.
Yeah, I don't have too much else to say about, like the Scarecrow episode or Baron's Bride. I just wrote a few times down, like, I'm calling this the Cape episode because it was the Cape that transported them through time, and they proved that vampires actually exist in this world. And then with the Faith Healer one, I just wrote, man, that was one high-speed chase by wheelchair for a moment in that episode.
Sorry, I'm still thinking of the wheelchair bear from Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that kill was pretty fun, too. Brown panties, Kevin.
Brown panties.
Sniff
Sexy.
that swimsuit. Yeah.
Come back.
Just like that cocaine.
The cocaine.
Now, you pretty excited for the next half?
I am, yes. I almost watched episode 14 just to finish out the disc.
Yeah, I'm about right because they split it over like 6 discs for each season. DVDs, everybody. And it's not on Blu-ray.
Oh gosh, yeah. For this set started out like at $80 at least, $87, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was gonna pick it up on Prime Day, waiting for it to like get down to like 30 something dollars. And it was not on sale for Prime Day. And I was like, oh, come on. Because I got the Blu-rays to the Batman animated series last year for like $20.
Yeah.
But when I found out that it's only like $29, $39 in general now, I was like, fuck Prime Day. I want
we were
shit.
just looking before. It's like 34, 35 right now on Amazon. So
yeah. And it's a beautiful box set. It is, however, just a ginormous box set. Like it's
yeah, you got the big box. I have these individual ones.
super big, but it is cool. Special features only include original network launch promos, sales presentation, and episode promos on select episodes, which is basically your coming up next on Fox.
Yeah. No, I don't know if it's in your set, but in mine, you actually get a little episode guide inside the case too.
Yes. Yeah.
You can actually follow through. I actually really like that. Like, the days of DVD when they got creative and had fun actually making these sets.
No shit. Well, one of the nice things about this so far, at least with my set, and I'm hoping is yours, they are actually in order. So it's not like when we watch Trimmers where it's like, wait, I'm confused.
Oh god, that show was like wild with episodes all over the place. It's like, hey, wait a minute, maybe we should ask Steve, like, what is the correct episode order? And even he was like, yeah, that could be a long question.
Good, whichever way you watch it, but yeah, you got to look that one up online. This one you don't have to so much.
No, everything basically aired very well.
Yeah, CBS did a good job with this set.
CBS/Paramount. Now, hopefully one day we can get this on a real streaming service. Now, if you're looking for it on streaming, I only know about it being on Sling. I don't even think it's on Amazon Prime Video.
No, I don't think it is.
They have a spot for it, but it's not available.
Yeah, yeah. And I was looking for it on archive.org, and I didn't see it. It's not to say that it's not there.
Yeah, I think you can find like extras and stuff, but I don't think the show is there in general.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was able to find.
Yeah. So if you are digging like what we're talking about here and you want to check it out, unfortunately, we're going to recommend getting the DVDs. And that's not an unfortunate thing. The show is definitely worth being in your collection, even if you're only into like the first like 2 seasons and you don't want to get into the third, because the third we'll eventually get there. But like these first 2 seasons are top notch, and I can't wait to get into the rest of this. I actually really want to see the rest of these.
For a cheesy old 80s horror TV show, this has a 7.6 stars on Internet Movie Database. That's fairly high for shit like this.
Right.
Freddy's Nightmares didn't have that high of a score.
Right. We've also had some feedback from like people on like Twitter and Facebook basically saying like, hey, it's great to see somebody talking about this show out in the wild just randomly. It's like, you might think it's random, but for us, it's really not. We were kind of planning this for a little while. And, you know, if we weren't doing another show in October, I'd almost be like, let's just do the next season.
Yeah.
But we got something else that's going to be a little tail sign. Catch my drift?
Tail? Like Sonic Tails?
From HBO and a little crypt keeping we might be doing.
Oh, well, we clean up here, clean up there, keeping it up.
Tales from the Crypt, everybody. Big Shot.
Yay!
Season 1. Just announce it. Hi. Got any other thoughts about this one, Kevin, before we wrap it up this time?
No, just that I'm super satisfied with it. Like it's taken a bad week and this is a
long
good,
week
smooth,
over here too.
Yeah, this was a good smooth binge. I felt better the entire time I was watching it. Like
I know, right?
This entire week that we've been working on Friday the 13th part 2, 3 and this show has just been a godsend.
Yeah, it's like comfort food for us, is like comfort shows, comfort movies. And it's like, man, I'm starting to feel good. We're in fall time. It's horror season, baby. Let's fucking go.
It's giving me the endorphins my brain needs now that I'm sober and I don't fucking like it. So this is like totally what the doctor ordered.
Well, doctor approves of this one, and I approve if you hit that like button down below. Also, got any comments about this show? Hey, I want to hear about that too. So please hit that little bell notification when you subscribe to our channel. We are working our way up to 7,000. So thank you everybody for tuning in with us. We will see you on the next one when we talk about the second half of Friday the 13th